morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
There is a feeling deep in a cowboy's heart that words can't express. Whether it's the pride of upholding the legacies and traditions of the Western way of life, a meal and friendship shared among the working crew, or the fellowship of helping out another cattleman, it brings a deep, unspoken connection. Despite the changes in scenery, people, cattle, and horses throughout the years, the foundations for being a true cowboy still exist. The words of renowned Western artist and ranch wife Marlene Pegg. And that introduces the best of 2019 from the Spirit of the West. You'll hear again some of Marlene's heartfelt comments and many other highlights from our last 52 programs. We brought you a lot of music for the first time in 2019, and this one from Rob Marshall and his band hit our playlist in January.
Chris Ledoux lays in my truck. The carpet smells like horse. I breathe it in and start to grin. It's the scent that I love most. I'm kind of fond of country bars. Love those neon lights. Western swing and steel guitars, and a girl who treats me right. Yes, I'm a real cowboy. I ride for the brand, big sky above me. I'm a real steady hand. I love my mama's cooking. Ride a handsome cowboy. Dance holding my partner. Yes, I'm a real cowboy. I've seen that look in a lady's eyes 100 times before. Watching silently my walk as I cross that old dance floor. She's had the rest, now she wants the best. A real live Western guy. She'll ask the question on her mind, then wait for my reply. Yes, I'm a real cowboy. I ride for the brand, big sky above me. I'm a real steady hand. I love my mama's cooking. Ride a handsome cowboy. I dance holding my partner. Yes, I'm a real cowboy. I've seen the girls that want to brag to friends about their man, then tries to change him from cowboy boots to Oxfords if she can. But I'm a real cowboy. I ride for the brand, big sky above me. I'm a real steady hand. I love my mama's cooking. Ride a handsome cowboy. I dance holding my partner. Yes, I'm a real cowboy. I dance Yes, I'm a real cowboy.
Our dear friends Miles Kingdon and his wife Possum spent some time here at the ranch last year, and after we'd enjoyed a good supper and shared a bunch of stories around the fire in our living room wood stove, I got Miles, reluctantly somewhat, to come up to the studio and relate a story about how in a herd of several thousand cows on BC's famous gang ranch, the cowboys can remember a lot about nearly every individual cow. One cow in particular was getting old, and she was always kind of in the affection of the crew, but she was not in the bunch when they gathered the cows in that fall. So Miles picks up the story several months later.
There we were later on in the fall. As time goes on, you know, summer jobs pass by, colts are started, and dry cows are gone, and time to bring the cows home from the mountains and wean. And my partner Merv and I went up one Sunday. It was a beautiful day. And them days in October in the fall when you can hear so far away, clear sounds of cow bawling up her calf, you can hear for miles. And it was a long ride from Fosbury Camp up to Big Swamp and then into Big Meadows, and we were hoping to find quite a few more cows because we were pretty short for that first weaning. And we were hoping to get at least 600 cow-calf pairs in to wean the next day. And what do you know, we came up with about 160 pairs and headed down the trail. Merv took his point, and it was give me a good feeling to know we were going to have enough cows for that next weaning. And halfway down that trail, who shows up but that cow? That little Circle S cow. And I would have never thought she'd have made it that far. From where we'd cut her out was probably, got to be 45, 50 miles. Well, you see, when we cut her back in Home Ranch Valley, she had, in her mind, this place, people got to understand, range critters, cattle, horses, people, they get them spots in their mind. Calving time, you're thinking to yourself about a pretty little meadow with the green grass and a creek flowing through it. And them cows go through that all the time. And we all get to be a lot the same. And she was not going to be denied that piece of ground. And she went up there and she raised her calf for us, and she brought home this nice calf. And that's freedom.
Yeah.
And that's why I called that Freedom and Dignity.
And that's, of course, from Miles' book, Beyond the Next Ridge, A Cowboy's Story, and you can find out more about it at mileskingdonhorsemanship.com. A friend I've ridden quite a few trails with, and in fact he's shod quite a few of our horses, has been writing some songs, and he released an album in early 2019. I was happy to play this one from Russ Dreger.
Now the winter is pretty well gone. Calves will be dropping soon. The weather, she's looking good. I'll be riding daylight till noon. Looking for cows in trouble, chasing coyotes out on the double. My old horses, my old dogs, and this old cowboy. The calves have all hit the ground, and it looks like they're doing fine. Time to get the old irons hot. Time to coil a rope and twine. Rope 'em by the heels, drag 'em to the crew. They'll scorch their hide and cut the nuts out too. Old horses, old dogs, an old cowboy. Get out of the way, dog. Well, the spring works are all done. horses, old dog, and old cowboy. Ride the range all summer long till the leaves begin to fall. When we get 'em back to the home plate, I'll hang my saddle on the wall. 'Cause we're too old and too sore, we won't get it done no more. My old horses, my old dogs, and this old cowboy. Old horses, old dogs, and old cowboy.
Coming up, a reconnection with a ranch wife who was a consummate top hand, is now an award-winning Western artist, along with more of the cream of the crop from our playlist when the best of 2019 from the Spirit of the West continues right after this. How about a weekend pass to the 24th annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Velgar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
In a big prairie moon rides a big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show workshop. The best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Welcome back to the best of the Spirit of the West from 2019. Something I've had on my wish list since we began this program back in 1992 was to have Dusty Roy Rogers Jr. as a guest. I shared the stage with him a time or two, but never really got to know him until 2019. Dusty, of course, has stepped into the lead singer spot with the legendary Sons of the Pioneers, the same spot his dad filled when the group began in 1934. We had a long, warm conversation prior to their tour of the prairies last summer, talked about many different subjects, but as Rusty Richards says, you can't talk about Roy Rogers without including Trigger.
But I remember watching Dad work with him. Dad had to, teaching. A lot of his tricks were taught by Glenn Randall, his trainer. But Dad had to work with him on those and give him the cues and stuff. And so Dad had that great what they call a croupa mount, where Dad would run up and jump up on it and put his hands on the rear end of Trigger and then jump into the saddle and take off. Well, Dad had Trigger tied to the fence there one day. He said, and Dad, all he had to say was stand. Trigger would stand rigid. You wouldn't move. And Dad would get back about 30, 40 feet, and he'd come running, and he'd just do that croupa mount and jump up on Trigger's rear end and then jump into the saddle. Well, Dad used to say, horses are like kids. They just they have their good days and bad days, and sometimes they just like to mess around a little bit. So Dad told Trigger to stand, and Trigger stood there, and he kept watching Dad out kind of on the side of his head, and Dad come running up there. Just about the time that he got ready to jump, he started his jump. Trigger stepped to the side, and Dad ran into the fence. And the air turned blue there for a while. Trigger started going through every trick he knew because he knew he'd messed up.
He'd try and redeem himself somehow.
He was in trouble.
Oh,
but it was funny to watch.
Another show that I had no idea we'd be doing happened in April of 2019. Billy had pulled off an incredible deception. And you'll hear about it after a track from an album that Ryan Fritz released in 2019. And on this song, Ranchin' Man, my little brother Jim plays lead guitar.
Well, I'm a hard-assed rancher below these big old skies. Out on the prairie where the wind blows dry, make my stand. Trying to make a living from this land, and the living's good, but the money isn't always quite as good. Now these old hills grow the hard grass grows the beef gets sold to buyers, then I make believe I'm alright. For a little while, I'll be alright. I'm a ranching man, don't you doubt, a ranching man. Well, I moved the farmer's daughter from the black fertile land to the rolling lonely prairie, southwest Saskatchewan, and her daddy cried, girl, don't run off with the drifting cowboy guy. My, oh, he's a ranching man. Don't run around with a ranching man. Too late. When this calving season's over and the branding is all done, you might find me in Longview just tipping back one or maybe two. 'Cause I've been known to have me one or two. See, I'm a ranching man. Don't mess around with a ranching man. Yes, I'm a ranching man. Don't mess around with a ranching man.
Play it, little brother, sing it, Ryan. Man, that's a good CD. Well, in April of 2019, Billy and I were in Alberta with the Western Spirit Band and having a blast. My old guitar was okay, but it didn't have the beautiful tone that Jim's custom-built River Song has. Never thinking I'd ever get to own one, but in the Red Deer Westerner, the night before the main event started, about 200 folks, good friends of ours, were gathered for our Spirit of the West Cruise reunion show. And you heard all about what happened there in a program from April with special guest, the founder of River Song Guitars, Mike Miltmore.
There we are, getting the band all set up in the hospitality room at the Westerner the night before the main event. And so you and Mark are setting up the sound system, and Mike and Jim are there, and Ben Crane showed up there. I didn't realize he was coming out for that. He's got his dobro and his mandolin, and I'm busy mixing and mingling. And then you have everything set up, and you're standing up at the microphone asking for everybody to be quiet.
Well, right before that happened, I was out at the van showing Billy the guitar for the first time. So then we set up the sound system, which I've done for you many times, and Billy wanted, while all your friends were there, wanted me to make a presentation of the guitar to you. Yeah.
And I saw you standing up at the mic asking for everybody's attention, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, Mike, I'm the MC, you're just the sound guy. And then I thought, okay, you started talking about River Song guitars. I thought, well, that's fine. If you want to give a little plug for River Song, that's okay, but don't go on too long. It's my show.
Yeah, that's what I love about you, is that it was like, you said that to me afterwards, I was like, wow, that's really nice. Like, who does that? But what I found was really funny. So it's ranchers, more cowboy hats than are normally in a room that I hang out in. And I've got long hair and a beard, and I'm a big guy. And I'm on the microphone saying, can I have everybody's attention? And nobody would
Where
give me
did this guy
attention.
come from? You're in the wrong room, guy.
Yeah, it was so good. But finally, I think I said, and a hush fell over the crowd. Shh. Yeah. And that's when everybody kind of got quiet, and I started talking about how Billy and I came up with this. Billy came up with this idea and this plan, and that we were honored to build this guitar for you. And at what point did you realize what was going on?
When you called me up and I wasn't sure why, but then you're holding the guitar. And that's when I said, this couldn't be happening. This isn't happening, is it?
Did you notice all the inlays when I first held it up?
Yeah, I could see that, right. And then I looked at the 12th fret and the logo right there of Billy and I on our horses and our cattle and everything. Actually, when Billy designed that logo when we first started the Spirit of the West. I set my old guitar in the guitar stand on stage along with Mike's bass and Jim's guitar, and I looked and it was gone.
And that's the fun part. And as a guitar builder, it's really fun to see those reactions. And this is why we build guitars is to create like heirlooms, things that are meaningful, and this was a real special, meaningful guitar for me to build for you.
Well, it's going to be in the family long after we're gone, for sure.
As we roll along with the highlights of 2019, it was sure nice to have Larry Krause back at the Cowboy Festival in Kamloops, and leading up to those dates, I was glad I could share a song or two from this fine singer and Saskatchewan rancher. Here's one we played early in March called The Shortest Day of the Year. I guess that just happened last week, didn't it?
The promise of the harvest fell way short of what we needed. We're not sure why we've got all those old cows, but the pressure's really building up right here in the kitchen, and the way it's headed, we just can't allow that old north wind's howling through the bullpen. The early snow wasn't welcome, but it's sure here. And the bottle's tipping back a little too often, and we haven't reached the shortest day of the year. We haven't hit the shortest day of the year. Now we've got to dig deep to recall what really matters, find the things that make us who we really are. Take the time to reflect on those good times, 'cause they were good and they weren't that sparse. That old north wind's howling through the bullpen. The early snow wasn't welcome, but it's sure here. And that bottle's tipping back a little too often, and we haven't reached the shortest day of the year. No, we haven't hit the shortest day of the year. Now winter's always been tough on us, darling, with the extra work we do to see things through. And it's way too soon to be doing all this snarling. Let's fix this thing right now, just me and you. 'Cause that north wind's howling through the bullpen. That early snow wasn't welcome, but it's sure here. And that bottle's tipping back just a little too often. And we haven't reached the shortest day of the year. No, we haven't hit the shortest day of the year. We haven't reached the shortest day of the year. We haven't hit the shortest day of the year.
Well, the production crew, consisting of my wife Billy, our horses Lucky, Cody, Stanley, and JJ, and Smokey and the Bandit, that's our two barn cats, have finished deliberating on the best of Baxter Black from 2019, and you'll hear their choice when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. 100 Mile House Cowboy Concert tickets are now available, and they're only $20 each. Saturday, February the 8th. Choose between a 2 o'clock matinee or a 7 o'clock evening show. Gary Felgarner, Bruce Rolfe, and Jeremy Willis will entertain. Tickets available at PMT Chartered Professional Accountants, Work and Play, and 100 Mile Feed. Proudly sponsored by the Free Press and Country 840. For more information, call Mark, 1-888-763-2221. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Baxter Black has been a part of this program since 1994. 52 original cowboy commentaries each year, and picking out the best one of the year is a challenge for sure. But the crew figured this one from late in the year would be pretty good.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, and I'll be right back after this
with a little peek at a girl and her horse.
Your land is a legacy, a challenge from those who tended it before you, to build on their foundations. At Corteva Agriscience, we understand what it means to be the stewards of a legacy. We embrace the challenge of building on the foundation of Dow AgroSciences to maintain your trust, to bring new solutions, to help you care for your land. See how we can help build your legacy at rangeandpasture.com.
And for our Canadian listeners, just check Corteva.ca, the Canadian website.
Pam and Joe had a long-term relationship. She was a backyard horse person, and he was a sorrel gelding that heard her innermost thoughts. She'd returned from the doctor's office a little woozy, and she and her husband walked out into the sunset backyard to enjoy their Colorado view, and they immediately noticed old Joe at the far back side of the pasture, and things didn't look right. "Go check him, hon," Pam asked hubby, and hubby soon sprinted back, shouting, "Get the wire cutters and call the vet." Pam called frantically, "You've got to come, Dr. Jim. It's Joe. He's been hung in the wire, bleeding. I don't know. Please hurry." Well, she held the flashlight for Doc when he arrived, and it turned out the wound wasn't serious, but Doc bandaged him anyway and administered antibiotics. "He's acting funny," Pam kept saying. "He's antsy, and he's got white circles around his eyes." They led Joe into the barn and stalled him. He snorted and circled. "Look at his feet," she exclaimed. "He's pulled his shoes off in the wire." She ran in the house and called the horseshoer. "Can't it wait till morning?" he asked. Well, at the dawn shoeing, Joe had settled down somewhat, but he fought the shoer and he hadn't eaten any of the apples Pam had left for him. Over the next 3 days, they got the pasture fence repaired and changed Joe's bandage, but Pam continued to worry that he wasn't his old self yet. Thursday night, Pam answered a knock on her door, and it was a large man who introduced himself as their backyard pasture neighbor. "I'm missing a horse. Have you seen one?" "Only mine," Pam explained. "He's down in the barn recuperating." "Could I have a look?" Pam bristled. "You think I don't know my own horse? I've had him over 10 years. He eats apples out of my hand." "Does he have a brand?" "Of course not. I'd never do that. Come look for yourself," she said with indignant assurance. An hour later, as she watched the neighbor drive off, trailer in tow, hauling his bandaged, vetted, newly shod, for the first time she had learned, sorrel mare, many unanswered questions became clear, particularly the horse at the far side of the back pasture that had been whinnying plaintively since Joe had been injured. Pam is still trying to spread the blame around to hubby, to Doc, and to the horseshoer, but she knows the truth, and so does Joe.
This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience.
How about a weekend pass to the 24th Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Veljar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
And a big prairie moon rides a big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show. Workshop, the best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. A few discoveries in 2019 made us feel that the future of the kind of music we bring you is in good hands. A couple of emerging young singers honoring the tradition but adding their own touch. When we picked up our mail at the Pinnertan Lake Post Office last July, there was a new CD waiting for us, and it was from a young singer by the name of Olivia Morgaine. One track featured a very familiar melody you'll recognize if you hear us very often. Beautiful duet with Olivia and Mary Kay.
I'm a roving cowboy far away from home, far from the prairie where I used to roam, where the dogies wander and the wind blows free, though my heart is yonder on the lone prairie. Oh, carry me back to the lone prairie, where the coyotes howl and the wind blows free. And when I die, you can bury me 'neath the western skies on the lone prairie. Give me back my saddle, give me back my gun, give me back my bronco that I used to run. Let me spread my blanket by a peaceful stream, hear the cowboys singing in the campfire gleam. Oh, carry me back to the lone prairie, where the coyotes howl and the wind blows free. And when I die, you can bury me 'neath the western skies on the lone prairie.
Dr. Larry Frischke is a well-known large animal vet based in central Alberta, and in 2019 he shared the story of one of the most famous horses ever to work in the string of the National Park Warden Service. And that horse is now kept at Larry's place. The horse's name is Skull.
The one fella came up, and he was one of the younger ones in the group, and boy, there were stories to be told that night, I tell you, around the campfire with all these old boys, these old park wardens. It was a day in my life that I'll never forget. But the one fella came up and said, yeah, he said, Skull packed our kids all the time. But I said, my best story about Skull, he said, I came into the ranch here, and he said, I headed out for my first trip, and he said it was around the second, third week of May. We got west out towards Scotch Camp, and he said, we got into one of these avalanche runs, and it's just 45-degree angle and a narrow path, and it's, you know, all scree. It's all rock. And he said, got into a lower part in it, and by gosh, there was still a lot of snow there under scattered rock and stuff. And he had Skull packed. He was the pack horse behind his riding horse, and he said his horse started to break through this snow, and the horse was getting into trouble. So he had to get off the horse, and he started he said he had about probably, you know, good 20, 25 yards of this to go through. So he started jumping on the snow and breaking the snow down, crust, and making a path for his riding horse. And of course he had to drop the lead shank on Old Skull. And he said Old Skull stood there and watched him for a while. And then he said he turned around and started heading back the other way. Well, he said, I couldn't do much about it, so I just sort of watched him. And he said he went till he was past the rocky scree, and he got onto the grass, and he headed down the hill. And he headed down, and he disappeared into the trees down in the valley. And he kind of wondered what the heck was going on. Well, he said he kept working, and he said it took him a good half hour or more, and then he had about another hour and a half at least to get to his cabin for the night, and he was going to be running out of daylight. So he had no time to go looking for Skull. He said, well, we'll just figure he headed back to the ranch probably, and he'd have to go back the next day and pick him up. So he headed off riding, and he got off and came around a clearing or around a corner of a bush, and coming into the clearing where the cabin was, and Skull was standing there waiting for him.
My gosh, he knew where the cabin was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's been out there all
And he knew that's where they were going.
Yeah.
He is
probably looking at this guy saying, you dumbass.
There's a better way
to get there.
Isn't that
this way? And so when I hear stories like that, I just think, like, gosh.
Yeah, gotta love a horse like that. Oh, man.
Yeah, the old boy, he'll get pampered until the day he decides to.
Oh, I want to see a picture of him sometime.
I will. I'll send you one.
True to his word, Larry did send a picture, and Old Skull is looking amazingly well. Still more memorable stories and music as the best of 2019 from the Spirit of the West continues right after this. 100 Mile House Cowboy Concert tickets are now available, and they're only $20 each. Saturday, February the 8th. Choose between a 2 o'clock matinee or a 7 o'clock evening show. Gary Felgarner, Bruce Rolfe, and Jeremy Willis will entertain. Tickets available at PMT Chartered Professional Accountants, Work and Play, and 100 Mile Feed. Proudly sponsored by the Free Press and Country 840. For more information, call Mark, 1-888-763-2221. Welcome back to the best of 2019 from the Spirit of the West. Looking back on the memorable moments of the last 52 episodes, I was invited to do a 2-hour set on stage with my beautiful river song guitar at the Provincial Winter Fair last September, late in the month, and it was a cold, windy afternoon, and after the first hour I had to take a short break to warm my fingers up, but there was an appreciative audience in the covered beer garden next door, so I persevered. The sound guy was great, and when I finished, he said, "Well, after hearing what you did, I thought you'd be pretty interested in this guy." And he played a CD through the big stage speakers, and I was pretty impressed. This is what I heard.
We're headed for a roundup, going to the big stampede. Old Dick Cosgrove's riding in the lead. Here's the rattling chuck wagon and the snorting buck in the broncs, heading for the Calgary stampede. Gather round the old chuck wagon, fix you up some grub, flip those flapjacks over in the pan. Old Jim Ross is the cookie boys, he sure can toss them up, and this chuck is good enough for any man. We're a jolly bunch of cowboys, and we hope you are the same. Have no cares, laws we seldom heed. Come and gather in our circle, and we'll sing this roundup song, heading for the Calgary stampede. Guy that rode old steamboat, Jack Manley was his name. Better pal, cowpunch never knew. Way that horse rope and take lead in hand. When you're stuck, he'd always see you through. We're a jolly bunch of cowboys, and we hope you are the same. We have no cares, laws we seldom heed. Come and gather in our circle, and we'll sing this roundup song, heading for the Calgary Stampede. Yes, we're heading for the Calgary Stampede. Adio-le, adio-le, do-le, oh-le, oh-le.
That is the voice of Coulter Wall, and he's 24 years old and is bringing the younger generation back to the traditional songs of the West, and it was the first time I played his music on the show. He also, by the way, is the son of former Saskatchewan Premier Brad Wall. Western wear with a welcome twist. Urban tack and Western wear, but there's more, so much more. You've got to see Urban's huge selection of home decor with a Western twist. Tableware, kitchen gadget stand, home accents, bedding, throws and pillows, bedroom and bathroom accessories. See for yourself and start redecorating Western style with a little help from your friends at Urban's. Exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield.
Canada's largest Western store.
How about a weekend pass to the 24th annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Velgar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
And a big prairie moon rides the big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show. Workshop, the best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. A cowboy legend, longtime rancher, and member of the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame, Bill Palmer, rode across the Great Divide in October 2019. He grew up on the 7-0 Ranch where Bill and his brother Jim set the bar pretty high for the cowboys that followed in their tracks. I've got a lot of great memories of long days riding working cattle with Bill and Jim, as well as Bill's son Doug, and I shared parts of a long visit Bill and I had a while ago on a program in 2019, and here's one of a whole bunch of Bill's true life adventures.
Another time we were moving cattle up at the cow camp. There was Jim and I, Jim Bedard, Art Graham. I don't know if you knew old Art.
Graham?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Graham place is just down the road there.
Yeah, did you know him?
I met him, I believe, yeah.
Well, he was quite an old boy. He was a hell of a nice old guy, too. He was no bachelor. Old. He was a little older than us, but not much. But we were up in the high corner at the Bell place coming out of there with a bunch of cattle. We had about 300 in, gathering them to go to the summer range. And all of a sudden, he said, "Who owns a black cow?" Nobody knew who owned a black cow.
Probably weren't many black cows in those days.
No, in the herd. And Art says, "Hey, it's a black bear. It's a killer. Let's get him." Well, the wreck was on then. Let the cows go. We're chase the bear. Down through the bush, and I'm riding a little thoroughbred mare that could fly. And hell, all of a sudden, I got my rope down and everything, and I'm right in position. And I'm looking at the bear. I don't want no damn bear about this time. But I look back, here's all them other guys. Well, I'm in there. I guess I got to do it. So I roped that darn bear and jerked the slack and just spun that mare around and come back through them other guys. I won't tell you how we got the rope off.
No, maybe that's a little sensitive.
Yeah. Another time I roped one out on White Lake Range. Right out in the flat open there. Same little mare. And I was holding a bunch of cattle against White Lake. And Dad come up over the hill with this other guy, Howard Allen. He was from Savannah. And Dad says, "Hey, there's a big black bear over the bank. Let's give him a run." I stepped off and cinched up. Tightened up. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm cinching up. I'm going to rope him." "Oh, no, we just run him." No, I'm going to rope him. Well, you better dally. I said, I don't want to lose a rope. I went down and I caught that bear. Bang. I caught him, and he put his hind foot up right past his jaw and took that rope off. I had to rope him twice. Second time I let him put a front foot through it and jerked it tight. And then I started to go around, and Dad was coming in to heal him. And he was yelling at me, for God's sake, slow down. He said, so I can heal him. And that every time I slowed down, that old bear would take his front paws and go up the rope as if he was climbing it. And I could see slack coming.
He's coming up your rope.
Finally, I made a circle around him, and he roped him.
Man, so you got him stretched out.
Yeah.
I don't know, Bill. Roping bears hide hard and fast.
Well, I don't want to lose a rope. Them ropes are expensive.
More of the best of 2019 when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. How about a weekend pass to the 24th Annual Kamloops Cowboy Festival, March 19th to 22nd, 2020. Another outstanding lineup of the finest pure Western entertainers anywhere. Canadian legend Gary Velgar.
Searching for freedom, westward the wagons, they settled in the valleys of sagebrush and pine.
Tom Cole.
In a big prairie moon rides a big prairie sky.
The first Kamloops appearance for Doug Figgs.
A good horse under me, it's easy to see. I'm right here where I want to be.
A pasture full of great cowboy poets, the BC Cowboy Hall of Fame inductions, dinner shows, daytime entertainment, and a spectacular art and gear show workshop. The best place to get all the information, bcchs.com. To order tickets, call 1-888-763-2221. Welcome back to the best of 2019 from the Spirit of the West. Coming up is our selection for the top end of the fine herd of cowboy poems we featured in 2019, and we will bring you one more song that made our playlist late in the year. Came from a CD from Miss Devon and the Outlaw, and that's, of course, Devon Dawson and Jesse Robertson, and I figured this song was one I had to play, featuring Jesse on the lead.
I was sitting by the campfire when Dusty got out his guitar. He started playing some soft Spanish music, so I laid back and stared at the stars. Started thinking about a cabin and a girl that I left behind, wondering if she was thinking about me after all this time. I'm just a cowboy, it's what I've always wanted to be, just a cowboy. There ain't nothing special about me, just a cowboy, enjoying a cool summer breeze and riding the open range where a man is free. In the morning I'll saddle my pony and I'll ride out on the range. Thoughts of home and that girl will fade for a while as I cross the Red River Plains. I'll sing with the lowing of the cattle and I'll sweat in the hot summer sun. Watch the trail for trouble ahead, keep my hand by my side near my gun. I'm just a cowboy, it's what I've always wanted to be, just a cowboy. There ain't nothing special about me, I'm just a cowboy, enjoying a cool summer breeze and riding the open range where a man is free. Today we'll get the cattle to market, and I've already made up my mind. I'm heading back home to Texas, to that cabin and that girl of mine. I'm gonna take her in my arms and hold her. I'm never gonna let her go. I'm sticking close to her campfire, 'cause I love her so. I'm still a cowboy, 'cause it's what I wanna be. Still a cowboy, and that girl's what's special about me. Still a cowboy, with my son sitting on my knee, and we'll ride out on the open range, where a man is free. Yes, we'll ride out on the open range, where a man is free.
A cattle raiser from Grand Junction, Colorado, Terry Nash knows what he's talking about. He lives the Western life he writes about, and he's a master at showing it to you in word pictures. He received the International Western Music Association 2018 Male Poet of the Year Award, and he also won the Poetry CD of the Year at the annual convention. And I'm happy to say he will be at the 2020 Kamloops Cowboy Festival, and we're going to wrap up the best of 2019 with this one, Terry Nash in A Cowman's Lot.
Well, it's calving season on our range, and though some might think it strange, it's my favorite time of year. For there's this vocal talk from cow to calf. She's speaking up on his behalf, saying things to him that he should hear. It's a scene just witnessed once a year, that quiet lowing that you hear, this bonding calf to cow. She's talking to him all the while, she's licking him clean, mother style. I smile to think of it now. It's a dialogue I'll not tire of, the sweet, pure sounds of a mother's love. So listen to this story of a first calf heifer and a rancher who has two on the ground at the end of the day and a heifer waiting for night. Front's moving in with the clouds thick and gray, and her bag's getting swollen and tight. Still in the saddle where he'd been all day, knowing sure tonight things would freeze, he looked at the clouds like folks do when they pray. Lord, what makes them pick nights like these? Well, he hazed her out from the rest of the cows and into a dry cabin pen. Scattered straw he'd save for times such as now in a shelter out of the wind. Unsettled and restless, the young cow paced. He'd seen this in cabin before. She'd delay if he remained in her space. He backed off and gave her some more. Well, the first flakes to fall were wet and wide-spaced. It's a warning, for soon they fell quicker. Wind and dark were neck and neck as they raced, and the cowboy pulled on his slicker. He thought of supper, a wife who'd worry. She'd watch for his truck at the gate. And he, with a heifer no man could hurry, and decided supper could wait. You see, most cowmen at the end of the day would likely reflect on this thought. He asked for this job. It weren't for the pay. It's the love of a cowman's lot. Well, the temperature dropped. Snow turned now to ice, stung his face like splinters of glass. Through squinted eyes, he watched the cow circle twice and then take a place in the grass. She laid down and pushed, and stood up and strained, 2 circles, then back in the grass. 1 foot was glimpsed, but she stood up again and looked his way, and the moment passed. Well, he turned to his shoulders to get out of sight, reminded she needed her space. This labor could last plumb into the night, and nothing would quicken the pace. He fed all the horses, rode amongst the cows, using time he knew she required. He rode back when finished to check on her now, and hoping she wasn't too tired. 2 feet now emerged where just one had shown. She labored her calf to expel. The cow then uttered a low, quiet moan and stretched out to rest for a spell. But in 5 more minutes a small head appeared. Meantime the mercury's fallen. The calf was soon out, but the rancher then feared it'd need help or death would be calling. But the heifer's up. She's inspecting her work. Soft lowing, she battled the cold. Nuzzled and licked, the calf shivered and jerked, and the man marveled as instincts took hold. She licked the calf clean. He tried out new feet, nose diving plumb into the ground. He then got a taste of mother's milk sweet and latched on to the spigot he'd found. The man grinned to hear the smack of wet lips, knew the calf was getting his meal. Inner warmth would soon spread from nose plumb to hips, and Mom's rough tongue would seal the deal. Steward of cattle, of his birthright and land, he'd not think of quitting this spot. He's there, if needed, to lend her a hand, the best friend this young cow's got.
Well, thanks so much for riding along and tuning in all these years. And next week, we'll start up the trail of 2020. Hope you'll be able to ride along. I couldn't do this without the help of our support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan. And if you need tractor parts, the best place to look is Mark's page, bctractorparts.com. And I just sent another story in the Canadian Cowboy Country magazine. The photos might be a little shocking. Anyway, you can subscribe at CanadianCowboy.ca. And you can listen and watch every one of our episodes on YouTube and get it as a podcast. See our website, hugh-mclennan.com, for the links. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.